Hi, I'm Brian Harrold, and today I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft Excel to create histograms. Essentially, the objectives will be to use Microsoft Excel to create histograms. I'll be using Microsoft Excel 2013. I'll also show you how to edit the title and the axis titles, as well as remove the more bin and the gaps that will appear between the bins. Please feel free to pause or to rewind the video as you need to. That way you have a chance to do this on your own computer and make sure you understand what you're doing. Here's some fake data that we can use to create our histogram. Please take a moment and pause the video so that you have a chance to type this into Excel. So I've got all of my fake data already typed into Excel, and before we actually start to make the histogram, I need to go ahead and turn on one of the Excel add-ins. Now, this add-in does not require any extra downloads. It already comes with Excel. You just have to go through and turn it on. The way you do that is you go up here and you click on File, and then Options. It should pop up with an extra window. Once you've got that window open, you click on Add-ins over here on the left side, and go down here to the bottom where it says Manage Excel Add-ins, and click Go. One more window should pop up, and it should say Analysis Tool Pack. That's the one we want to have checked. Once you have it checked, you go ahead and click OK. You only have to turn on the add-in once. Once you've turned it on, Excel will remember to keep that add-in on so you never have to do it again. It might help you if you decide to sort this data. The first thing you'll want to do in order to sort this data is you want to highlight it. After highlighting the data, still on this Home tab, you'll come all the way over to the right to where it says Sort and Filter. So I'm going to click on this, and I can sort it from smallest to largest or from largest to smallest. I'm going to choose smallest to largest, the smallest number being 10, the biggest number being 125. Now I'm ready to make some bins. What the bins are the categories that each one of these numbers is going to go into so that I have all of the different columns. You want to make sure that the smallest bin is going to include the smallest number, and the biggest bin is going to include the biggest number. The more bins you have, the more columns you'll have. It's easier to have fewer columns so as to make it more legible. The bins that I have decided to use start at 0 and go to 125 in increments of 25. So 0, 25, 50, 75, 100, and 125. Now that I've got my bins, I'm ready to make my histogram. So I'm going to go up to this tab where it says Data. Then I need to go to the right-hand side of the screen where it says Data Analysis and click on that. It should pop up with an extra window, and what I'm looking to do is to create a histogram. So I'm going to click on Histogram and OK. A new window pops up and it asks me for the input range. I'm going to make sure my cursor is there, and I'm going to highlight all of the data. I'm also going to put my cursor in the bin range and highlight all of my bins. Lastly, I want to look at the output options. I usually like to do a new worksheet, and I also want to have a chart as the output. So I'm going to click OK. And notice that it pops up in a new frame my frequency table and the histogram. I know that it's a new worksheet because I have a new tab down here at the bottom. From here, I want to try to make some editing choices. So I'm going to change this title from histogram. So I'm going to click on the title once, and I'm going to click on it again to edit. And I'm going to change it to say fake data. I'm also going to change this horizontal axis from bin to bins by clicking on it once. Second, for the editing, I'm going to change frequency. I'm going to click on it once, click on it again to edit, and I'm going to change this to count. Notice we have a little bit of redundant legend here. I'm going to just click on it and delete it. Now that I've edited the title and the axis titles, I'm going to go through and I'm going to get rid of this more bin that automatically appeared. The way I need to do that is I need to highlight these cells in my frequency table, and I actually need to delete those cells. I go up here to Home, and I'm going to go over to the right where it says Delete Cells, and I'm just going to click Delete them. Notice that the cells are gone, and so is the bin that was here on the end. I also want to make sure that I get rid of the gaps that are in between these bins. So I'm actually going to click on the columns, and I'm going to right click, and it'll come down here to where it says Format Data Series. In some of the older versions, it pops up with a new window. In this case, it popped up with a sidebar, and notice it says Gap Width, and I'm going to scroll it back to 0%. If you notice in my histogram now, all of the bins, all of the columns are touching each other. Another nice thing to do would be to add borders to the column. So I'm going to click on this paint bucket here, and I'm going to go under border, and I want to make it a solid line. And you notice it's already this blue color. Well, that doesn't really help since the columns are also blue. So I'm going to change this to black. And if you notice now, my columns have black borders around them. The only other thing that I'm going to do to make it a little bit more legible is I'm going to click on this chart one more time, and I'm going to go up to this plus sign, and I'm going to come down to data labels, and I'm going to check that box. And now it's added data labels to all of the columns, so I know how many numbers are in each one of the bins. So now I've created a histogram in Excel. I've edited the title and the horizontal and vertical axis titles. I've also gotten rid of the more bin that was originally here. I've added borders to the columns, and I've gotten rid of the gaps that were in between them. And I've also added data labels. Here's a chance for you to try to make a histogram on your own. Here is data related to the US Open. For each of the years between 1994 and 2013, the winning golfer's name is shown along with his score. Please take a moment and pause the video so that you can type this data into Excel. The goal will be to create a histogram of the winning score for each of these years. If you got a little stuck, I have a few hints for you. Number one, I got rid of some of the extra information. You don't need the player's name and you don't need the year. The only thing we want to focus on is the player's winning score. Also, number two, if you look closely at the data, the minimum, the lowest score, is 268. With the maximum being 285. So I counted by twos when I made my bins, and I started at 268 and just went up till I knew I had enough bins. If you need another second, please pause the video because the answer is coming up next. Here's my histogram of US Open scores. Notice my title does say US Open from 1994 to 2013, and I changed the horizontal axis title to say score, but I left the vertical axis title alone as it says frequency. I deleted the more bin, and I also got rid of the gap width between the bins. But I did add a border around the bin so you can see where one ends and another begins, and I added data labels to make my histogram just that much more legible. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope that you found it informative.